ruling coalition. Is Ethiopia under Abiy sliding back into repression and violent conflict? This week's headliner, close ally and advisor to the Ethiopian Prime Minister, Leencoo Batii. Leencoo Batii, thank you for joining me on Upfront. Your Prime Minister, Abiy Ahmed, won the 2019 Nobel Peace Prize at the end of a year in which he locked up journalists, detained protesters and cut off the internet. Is that really how Nobel Peace Prize winners are supposed to behave?
I don't know where you get these facts. There is no any journalist in prison now.
He didn't arrest 5 journalists in September 2019. Amnesty International said the police failed to produce any shred of evidence for their alleged crimes.
No, that's an exaggerated thing.
What does that mean, exaggerated?
There is no single...
Exaggerated means what? There was one journalist, not 5?
There is one incident in where fake news has been put in a market to incite violence against ethnic groups.
So why is Amnesty's director for East and Southern Africa saying the return of mass arrests of opposition activists and supporters is a worrying signal in Ethiopia? These sweeping arrests risk undermining the rights to freedom of expression and association ahead of this year's election.
This is not happening in Ethiopia. Ethiopia is free. So everybody is free now to...
So you're saying Amnesty is making this stuff up?
Well, I'm telling you, all the journalists are out of prison. All political prisoners out.
Be out of prison, but you're admitting they were in prison at one stage.
These are prisoners detained by previous regime. All oppositions, armed and peaceful, are invited back. So the political space is wide, and everybody is in the country registering, campaigning in different parts of the country.
I'm not questioning that people aren't campaigning or registering. I'm just saying that Human Rights Watch, for example, has said dozens of ethnic Amhara journalists were held in 2019 in their report on the country. I mean, you were on this show in 2016 as someone living in exile, criticizing the previous government for being repressive, authoritarian, locking up protesters and journalists, and now you're being criticized. Your government is being criticized for doing the same thing. Do you see the irony?
Yeah, this government is not doing... I'm not aware of this arrests, and this government is not arresting journalists.
How about internet blackouts?
There is no any time internet was blocked.
I mean, who should people believe? Well-known, well-respected human rights groups?
Yeah, we need to do further investigation. But
I think you do.
I mean, first of all, the internet in the country is very, the service is very low. The coverage is very low. And, but I have not come across any incident where internet...
So you haven't come across detained protesters, you haven't come across detained journalists, you haven't come across internet blackouts?
No.
That's very convenient, given it's well documented by human rights observers.
I have not. I'm a human rights advocate. I have not.
Okay.
I have not seen any.
Your Prime Minister won a peace prize for ending this decades-long conflict with neighbouring Eritrea, and he's been applauded for that by many around the world and at home. But even in Ethiopia, the conflicts continue, ethnic conflicts. The violence has in fact escalated in many places. Ethiopia has one of the largest internally displaced populations in the world. 1.6 million people internally displaced, fleeing violence. That's a pretty massive failure on your government's part, is it not?
Well, the displacement has its own cause. As you know, Ethiopia is going through reform. That means the regime or the group that is overthrown were sponsoring conflicts in different parts of the country. So this is a politically motivated displacement in order to sabotage the transition and the reforms that the Prime Minister put in place.
Hold on, you're saying 750,000 people were displaced in the first half of 2019. That's all just a political move to embarrass the government. Nearly 1 million people.
These people, Ethiopian people, used to live together peacefully. This is a politically masterminded, agitated from behind in order to sabotage the reform.
Isn't the danger...
Once that structural problem is removed, now people are back to their residence, and today now the Ethiopian ethnic groups in every part of the country are living together in a very harmonious way.
I interview a lot of people on this show from different countries, different political parties. You've been on this show twice, and it's interesting interviewing you because you came on this show in a debate with the then member of the Ethiopian government. You were in exile at the time, living in the US.
Yes.
And if you had said all this stuff then, and your opponent then in the government, had said, well, this is all just you trying to make us look bad.
Yeah.
Do you understand? Your arguments can be used either way.
I do understand.
You could sound like the previous government.
I do understand. The record of the Prime Minister is clear. The
numbers are clear.
Our Prime Minister...
Displaced people is going up.
Our Prime Minister rehabilitated peace with Eritrea. He mediated peace between Southern Sudan. He has
but he can't stop people from being displaced in his own country.
He has an excellent relationship with Somalia and Kenya.
But he can't stop people from being displaced in his own country. Yeah, hundreds of thousands of them.
But the hands, who is masterminding all this violence is aimed at...
Who is this? You sound like a conspiracy theorist.
The overthrown elites.
Okay,
the people who were enjoying privilege for the last 27 years, they want to make sure this process is sabotaged.
I mean, do you have any evidence
So the Prime Minister is very patient.
I mean, do you have any evidence for that?
For example...
What's your evidence for that?
What's
the evidence?
There is a clear evidence.
What is it?
There is a clear evidence.
You can't just say this. You can't say there is a clear evidence 3 times. What is the evidence?
Weapon is being smuggled to these groups.
You found these weapons.
Yes.
You produced these for the world.
Of course, there was a lot of weapons that was captured. They come through the borders, and money has been distributed in order to...
This is all very vague, Leencoo Batii.
And an attempt on the life of the Prime Minister also was tried in Addis. So these people are leaving no stone unturned in order to prevent Ethiopia to transit into democracy.
Your party came to power in 2018, and now your Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed is transforming Ethiopia's ethnic federal political system. Some would say without any real electoral mandate, he's dissolved the ruling coalition, he's set up this whole new party, the Prosperity Party, to which your own defense minister has come out and criticized and said there are many dangers to doing these big dramatic changes in a hurry right now. So why do it? Why all this upheaval?
It was a natural process to come up with a party that is unified under one major shared goal. So it's a party decision, it's a members' decision, the Central Committee decision, let me finish, Executive Committee decision. So it has been done through the party rules and regulation.
So why did your defense minister say merging this party is not timely and there are many dangers? We are in a transition. This is borrowed time. It is not our time. We should focus on maintaining peace and stability. Why are you not focusing on peace and stability? Why are you doing these dangerous things according to your own defense minister?
Peace and stability is a burning issue. There is no question about that. Okay? The Prime Minister liberalized the political space. All oppositions are invited in, including those who are in armed struggle. Those who are in prison were released. And now the political space is free.
So there's no danger to any of them? This is not a dangerous move?
Well, the changes in Ethiopia are very sweeping. Okay? We have to either, transit Ethiopia into democracy. Otherwise, there is no any other alternative.
I understand, but we have a global audience watching this show.
There is no any other alternative.
I understand. Yeah. Our viewers around the world are watching the show. They see you, senior advisor to the Office of the Prime Minister, saying this is a good thing. And then they hear the defense minister of your government saying this is not a good thing. Who should they believe?
Well, everybody is entitled to his opinion.
Not really. He's in your government. You should really be singing from the same hymn sheet.
Yeah, but what he said is, he's not opposing the goal, he's not opposing the process, but he's saying maybe things are going so fast. Okay, that is his opinion.
The current Prime Minister, your boss, Abiy Ahmed, has been in power for less than 2 years. He was not elected directly to office. And in November, with just months before this upcoming general election in August, he approved all these big changes, this dissolution of the ruling coalition. Does he have a mandate to do any of this stuff? I mean, nobody elected him to do any of this stuff.
The party, it is a party. But
it affects the Ethiopian constitution, the federal structure.
No, he has not. No. Ethiopian federation state. He is not tampering with the federation. He's a federalist. The multinational federation is a constitutional order. What is being transformed, what is being rebranded is a party.
And he has a mandate for that, you think?
He has a mandate. Yeah, the members have a mandate, and the members are doing that through massive deliberation. Deliberation has been taking place within the party for a year.
Leencoo Batii, thanks for joining me on Upfront.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Attacks on students, mob lynchings, and escalation in hate crimes, and the mainstreaming of a hardline brand of Hindu nationalism. These have all been features of India under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, whose party lost a key election in Delhi this week. Yet few celebrities have spoken out against Modi or the rise in intolerance. Many of them instead are big supporters of the Prime Minister. But today we're joined by two of the biggest names in Bollywood who haven't been shy to make their voices heard. Javed Akhtar is an acclaimed screenwriter, songwriter and poet, as well as a former member of India's upper house of parliament. And Mahesh Bhatt is one of India's best-known film directors and producers, who's directed over 50 films since his career began in 1974. Javed Akhtar, Mahesh Bhatt, thank you both for joining me on Up Front. Javed Akhtar, let me start with you. How bad, actually, is the situation in India today, in your view, in terms of rising nationalism, bigotry, authoritarianism?
Well, if I look around in this world, there are places which are much worse. But the fact is that situation in India, without looking outside, I can say was never so dark as it is today.
And Mahesh Bhatt, would you agree with that? How much is the India that once touted its secular, pluralistic, multi-faith credentials, the India that you and Javed grew up in, how much of that India is gone, do you think?
Well, it was called the mother of civilizations. It was the land which gave birth to people like Nanak and the Mahatma Gandhi. And the fact is that what Javed Saab just said is that it couldn't have been worse. And the night is only deepening. We have had a ray of hope just a few days ago when the BJP got a drubbing when they lost the election to Arvind Kejriwal's Aam Aadmi Party. But that's just one little ray of hope.
Mahesh Bhatt, you said in the past that fascism is, quote, alive and well in the land of the Mahatma. What would you say to critics who say that's hyperbole, that's an exaggeration? India is a democratic country. Narendra Modi won his majority last year fair and square.
Well, I would say that they conveniently look away from that explosive silence. The Muslims of my country, and not only the Muslims, even the other minorities, have never felt more insecure as they feel now. If they choose to turn their face away from this naked truth, it's their privilege, but they do India a lot of harm. When people are frightened to speak, when people worry about what's going to happen next, there's palpable anxiety in the air. And if they do not want to see it, it's their tragedy. They will have to take stock of the situation and act with urgency.